Hello everyone. Welcome back to #HUEMatter, the podcast dedicated to discussing issues in the LGBTQIA plus community. Before we start, let's do a quick recap of our previous episodes. In episode 1, we introduced our podcast and had a short but very meaningful discussion about statistics regarding crimes against the LGBT community. And in episode 2, we went more in depth into this issue and talked about the transphobia in the country. So, guys, should we introduce ourselves again?
Hi, I'm Sky.
Hello, I'm Ellie.
Hey there, my name is Cheesecake.
Hello guys, my name is Aito.
And I'm Rain. So, we're already in our second to the last episode for the season. Time flies by so quickly.
Yeah,
I know,
agree.
right? I agree.
Yeah. So today we will be talking about the different ordinances in the Philippines that aim to address the discrimination in the LGBTQIA plus community. We will be discussing 4 different ordinances, and I think it would be great to start with the Quezon City Gender Fair Ordinance. Sky, can you tell us more about this?
Sure thing, Rain. The Quezon City Gender Fair Ordinance was passed last November 28, 2014, and is said to be the most advanced anti-LGBTQIA+ discrimination ordinance. This ordinance lists prohibited and affirmative acts. Prohibited acts include any form of discrimination on the basis of sexual orientation, gender identity, and expression, or SOGI. Employers are not allowed to limit opportunities, trainings, promotions, or expose employees to possible abuse or harassment. Educational institutions cannot deny applications, limit student benefits, or put students at risk for bullying, intimidation, or threatening situations. Corporations or businesses cannot deny service, accommodation, or access to facilities to others based on their SOGI. Verbal abuse and harassment is also considered a prohibited act.
That's a lot. It's very specific too.
Yeah.
To add, this ordinance should be observed in all spaces such as workplaces, educational institutions, and even in the delivery of goods, services, and healthcare. So, restaurants, shopping malls, and hotels actually fall under goods and services, as well as cleaning, transportation, and construction, to name a few. Affirmative acts such as equal pay and gender sensitivity training must be adopted in the aforementioned areas. This ordinance actually places a heavy emphasis on equal opportunities and equal treatment. In essence, it actually promotes anti-discrimination, gender sensitivity, and the importance of building a non-discriminatory environment among healthcare workers when addressing the needs of LGBT persons. Cool, right?
Wow.
Yeah, I think it's
That's
really good that
dark.
the ordinance is very specific.
Yeah.
And honestly,
I
for an
agree with
ordinance, it's
Rain.
actually
Right.
ahead of its time.
True.
Yeah.
And moving on to the next ordinance, Antipolo City Ordinance number 2015-612, which aims to protect all Antipolo residents from discrimination, specifically in terms of employment. It was signed on January 26, 2015 by Antipolo City Mayor Casimiro Inares III. It prohibits discrimination in all aspects, including employment of persons on account on their gender, disability, ethnic origin, religion, age, and for other purpose. As we can see, this ordinance doesn't solely focus on battling discrimination against the LGBTQIA+ community, but also other vulnerable communities.
Yeah, that's right. And actually, in that said ordinance, it aims to penalize those who verbally and or physically harass a person under involuntary actions, whether in the workplace or elsewhere, due to their gender identity and expression, and basically prohibits the invalidation of people that are part of the LGBTQIA+ community in relation to training, promotions, incentives, and work opportunities. So basically, this is saying that no matter what someone's justification is for their homophobic actions, they will be convicted and charged for it.
As they should.
Yeah. And one of the features actually of this ordinance is that violators will be fined. And depending on the severity of their offense, they may be fined 1,000 pesos or 2,000 pesos for the first offense, 3,000 pesos to jail time of 10 or more days for the second offense, and 5,000 pesos to 30 days in jail or both for the third offense.
Wow.
Ooh, that's a lot.
Wow.
Well, but yeah, that's a lot. But do you think kailangan pa siyang mas matagal? Kayo guys?
Yung jail time, ganon.
Yeah.
That
I
depends,
think
actually.
in my opinion, feel ko medyo mababaw pa nga yung 30 days. Kung
Yeah.
I
Pero
agree.
ganun
for
yung gagawin
me,
nila.
for me lang, it's like it should be dependent on how severe yung naging result ng actions nila, di ba?
Yeah,
It should
yeah.
depend on like if the
Yeah.
person was severely affected. Ganon.
Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Pero are those like the only two ordinances that are in effect right now?
Actually, no. So, the third ordinance we will discuss is Cebu City's Ordinance number 2339, also known as an ordinance prohibiting discrimination in the city of Cebu on the basis of disability, age, health status, sexual orientation, gender identity, ethnicity, and religion. Ang haba, no?
That's so long.
Yeah.
That's so
So-
long.
Big.
So, as you can conclude from the name, just like the previous ordinance, this ordinance does not only aim to protect the LGBTQIA plus community, but also other vulnerable groups. It aims to guarantee full respect for human rights for all people, including the LGBTQIA plus community. The ordinance was constituted last 2016 in the city of Cebu for 80 barangays as authored by City Councilor Margarita Osmeña in cooperation with Akbayan Party List.
That's
Wow.
nice. Great
Yeah.
start, yeah.
Great start
Yeah.
na.
And hearing the
Diba?
ordinance name pa lang, it's nice that they're also very specific.
Kaya
True,
nga, yung
true.
haba, ano.
Oo nga eh.
Yeah.
True. True.
So, yun nga. Thanks for that information, Rain. With this ordinance, Cebu's Anti-Discrimination Commission seeks to address discrimination which may lead to crime and violence. Under this ordinance, no one is allowed to perform discriminative action against any person and or group of persons on the basis of gender identity, sexual orientation, expression, religion, and health status. Violators of the ordinance will be asked to pay a fine between 1,000 to 5,000 pesos or spend 1 to 30 days in jail or both. It seeks to help build a culture of respect for diversity and tolerance for the Queen City of the South. It also fosters peaceful coexistence to all people of Cebu. Diba?
It's
Yabehan
really
to.
nice.
I mean, queen na queen talaga.
Yeah, and my goal talaga siya.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
like-
true.
You know na may purpose. It's amazing. It's a great
Yeah.
start.
Yeah, and it's low-key poetic too dahil kasi at least parang heartfelt talaga yung meaning niya.
Yeah, heartfelt na queen din talaga yung South na yun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, Ellie, would you like to discuss the last ordinance?
Sure, I'd love to. So lastly, let's talk about Iloilo's Anti-Discrimination Ordinance. This ordinance was actually approved by the Sangguniang Panglungsod, or the SP, which is the local legislative body of the city government of Iloilo. And it's actually a baby ordinance, and it's only been in effect since 2018, so it's fairly recent. This ordinance aims to eradicate discrimination and crimes against the LGBTQA+ community, and it does this by penalizing those who discriminate against others on the basis of their sex, gender identity, sexual orientation, race, color, national descent, or ethnic origin, and even your religious affiliation or beliefs. So, just like the previously mentioned ordinances, Iloilo's anti-discrimination ordinance is also for other sectors such as religious groups, so literally everyone is protected. In a way, it's like a mini Soji bill if you think about it.
Nice.
Yeah, that's really nice.
Yeah, like it could be like a great platform as well. And
Yeah.
some acts that defy this ordinance include denying employment, refusal in academic admission, oppressed opportunities, invalidation and deprivation of goods and services are prohibited in the said city. It seeks to validate differences in diversity no matter what sexual orientation or gender identity you have. So violators will be punished and penalized with 1,000 pesos for the first offense, 2,000 pesos for the second offense, and imprisonment of not more than 10 days at the discretion of the court, and 3,000 pesos as well, and 15 days imprisonment on the third offense.
Wow. Parang
Ilo really
wow.
said Queen Who.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's nice to see
I
this
love
kind
how
of instances.
yeah.
Yeah.
I love how they actually had like not just a goal pero like a deep rooted na parang symbolism why they're passing this law, and it
Mhm.
warms my heart genuinely.
Like
Yeah.
they really said City of Love.
Yeah, that's true. Iloilo is really known for its loving people.
Super meaning niya. Yeah.
And sa violators, it's yung punishment is on the in the discretion of the court. Parang depending on the severity, pwedeng mas matagal or mas harsh yung punishment. No?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
It can be na talaga like properly implemented, no?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Pero as we can observe, there's a pattern of having monetary punishments when it comes to violating the ordinances. I mean, but do you guys think this actually works or parang effective ba to stop discrimination?
Honestly, I noticed the pattern na parang you have to pay some sort of fine.
Yeah.
Pero for me, I feel like it's not so effective since being Filipinos, sometimes we have a mindset where we pay a fine and we just leave without learning anything. Parang pinalo lang tayo sa kamay in that manner. And rather than learning something, the people who pay the fine like just end up getting pissed off, naiinis, naiirita, and don't do anything about it. Rather, parang they didn't get the point why they had to pay. Just they had to pay for their own convenience.
Yeah.
Parang ganun.
Parang
So I
as
feel like
said,
it's ineffective.
yeah, parang as said nga last episode, no, it's really a change of mindset that we need to stop discrimination.
That is true.
Yeah. So Ellie, what do you think about it?
I think Aito made really good points, but and for me naman, I think that having these kind of like monetary punishments, it's a pretty good start. Like, admittedly, it won't stop discrimination, but since money is involved, it gives people somewhat like a buffer time to think about what they're about to do, if that makes sense. Because of course, like some people can afford to pay it off, but that time that you can spend to double check what you're about to doing it really matters. So
Okay, that's a good
obviously
point.
it really won't fix the problem, but it's still a good action to start.
Yeah, parang just knowing that there's consequence to your action, no?
That's true.
And that you actually have to
true.
pay for.
Yeah,
How
it's a
about you,
physical consequence.
not just moral. So how about you, Cheesecake?
Yeah, I actually agree sa dalawang points nila ni Aito and ni Ellie. Kasi like parang ginawa lang siyang band-aid, but band-aid to fix the nangyayari. But like it's a great start naman, but you can see kasi na still evident na yung cycle of discrimination na ulit-ulit lang siya. So kailangan talaga na proper implementation talaga and like a law that can help to be a factor na para matanggal talaga yung hindi yung slowly matanggal yung ganong discrimination. Yeah.
And for me naman din, parang if I have the same thoughts as Aito na parang if they can afford it, if they can just afford to pay for the fines, they'll just keep doing it, ganon. So, ayun. How about you, Sky?
Actually, halos lahat nasabi niyo na. Pero for me, I feel like awareness talaga and teaching people na ganito na yung setup natin ngayon na dapat tulungan natin sila na umintindi din na rumispeto, ganon. Feel ko yun yung one way para ma-eradicate yung discrimination. Kasi yun nga, sabi nyo nga, pag yung fine kaya nilang bayaran, wala rin sila matututunan. Paulit-ulit lang din nila gagawin.
Yeah. So, at the end of the day, parang it goes back then to awareness, no?
Yeah, like,
Yes.
kasi ulit-ulit lang yung cycle and it's tiring, honestly.
Yeah. So, we only mentioned 4 ordinances today, but as of 2017, 16 cities and municipalities, 3 barangays, and 5 provinces have enacted anti-discrimination ordinances. And more recently, Manila and Pasig, among other cities, have signed LGBTQIA plus anti-discrimination ordinances as well. But even with these ordinances in place, it doesn't mean that discrimination has completely disappeared from these areas. Let's take a look at some cases that violated these ordinances. Aito?
Well, yeah, I have to admit that some ordinances in some places are actually violated. Kaya I'm sure you guys will remember this as it is a very recent case. One of the most, infamous occurrences of a violation of some sort of ordinance was when transgender woman Gretchen Diaz, kilala niyo siya? Si Gretchen Diaz.
Yeah.
Yes. I know her.
So basically, the story was Gretchen was barred from entering a women's restroom in a mall in Quezon City, which we can recall has the LGBTQIA plus ordinance that said like they cannot be denied any access to parang public places, ganon. So how it went is that the janitress prevented Gretchen from using her preferred comfort room, which in turn equals to committing an act of discrimination, which goes against the aforementioned gender fair ordinance, which mentioned earlier is said to be one of the most advanced anti-LGBTQIA discrimination ordinance. So, Sky, take it away from here.
Thanks, Aito. So, meron pa, like, addition to what Aito said, the mall was also said to violate Section 5, 1B of the ordinance, which requires all government agencies, private offices, and commercial or industrial establishments shall designate toilet rooms and lavatories labeled as all-gender CR. This shows that although this ordinance exists, it does not safeguard the community from acts of discrimination. Diaz stated that she frequently visited malls in Quezon City because she felt safer as the ordinance was in place, yet she still experienced discrimination.
See, sobrang ano talaga, sobrang hindi pa rin safe kahit may ordinance na.
True. Pero at least, no, she felt safe.
Yeah,
She
it's
felt safe.
really the implementation.
It really would.
I want to know lang rin if people actually know about this ordinance dahil as mentioned kanina, the janitress blatantly committed an act of discrimination which can lead to thinking na she did not know about the ordinance in the first place.
That also. So, it gets to show na yung sa implementation talaga.
Yeah, yun talaga yung pinaka-importante. Because even if there's the ordinance about it, wala din mangyayari.
Agree.
Yeah, like, bukod po dito sa Quezon City incident na to, are there any other like incidences elsewhere in the Philippines? How about you, Ellie?
Actually, yeah, I can recall another incident. And it only happened last year actually. So I feel like everybody can remember this. So another recent example is the experience of transgender woman Alexis Hart, who is a resident of Rizal. So last November 5, 2020, a viral video of a woman dubbed Aling Susan circulated on social media. Aling Susan, who was the violator, was seen verbally assaulting Alexis, who was just walking down the road to have lunch after work. Whack, right?
Grabe naman.
Right. Grabe. Like, Alexis merely walked in front of Aling Susan who shouted, "Dumaan na naman ng mga bad spirit, ang sarap-sarap pagbarilin." Like,
Grabe naman.
Grabe.
Which in English means the
Ang
bad
lala.
spirit is here again. It'd be good to shoot it. Like, whack. Grabe. Like,
Bro.
Alexis then asked Aling Susan why she was so mad at her, prompting the homophobic response, kasi bakla ka, kasi impyerno ka. Oh my God. That's so sick.
Grabe
She's one to
talaga.
talk.
Yeah, like, this happened in
Kung
Antipolo
salita siya,
City.
impyerno.
Yeah, this happened in Antipolo City Pa where the ordinance was approved and implemented 5 years ago. But the recent acts of discrimination from Aling Susan proves that invalidation and discriminatory actions still occur today. Like, grabe.
It's
Grabe lang
not, and
talaga.
it's not a new ordinance. So,
Right.
dapat alam ng mga tao na it's in place,
Half a
diba?
decade old.
Yeah, like, grabe talaga yung taboo belief nila, no?
Like, it's crazy. Like, you're going to tell someone na ang sarap nilang pagbabarilin. Like, it's like, akala mo kung sino
Yeah.
ka makapaghusga.
Ang dami
Even
niyang
if it's-
violate.
Yeah, even if
Yeah.
it's just words, it's
That's-
very harsh talaga.
Right?
Oh,
Like,
Uh,
you judge a person based on their sexual orientation or gender identity lang. Like, grabe.
I mean, we can't also blame her dahil kasi, as we've said, she's an Ale, which means she's from an older, more conservative, Catholic-driven generation. So we can't blame her if she thinks that way. But it's not right of her to think that way.
Like,
Yeah,
kahit
that's true.
Respect lang, di ba? Like, respect.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's just it.
Yeah.
It doesn't pay 1 peso to give respect to people. Come on, it's 2021.
yeah. And so
I
these are only two of many cases of discrimination against the LGBTQIA plus community. And since the ordinances are only implemented in certain parts of the country, like certain cities or provinces lang, do you guys think that the SOGI bill will be more effective than the ordinances since it's national?
You know, like, surely, it depends on how intensely it will be implemented. Though, I do understand, like, it's very public, it's a hot topic, like, what kana noong 2020, it was in the newspapers. I think that it will have, like, a little bit of trouble being very effective at first, dahil kasi it's fresh off of Congress if ever it's passed.
Yeah, but maybe it's people would need more time to adjust to it then.
Yeah, that's it. It's going
Yeah.
to take a lot of time.
So how about you, Ellie? What do you think?
I think we can learn a lot of lessons from like the ordinances that are already like implemented. So Soji can really build from there. And it's still a good place to start to implement Soji bill. I think, aside from monitoring like the implementation, it's very important for us to remember that the fight doesn't end with this bill being approved. We still
Yeah.
have a lot of work to do even after. So we really have to like work towards like genuinely understanding like why it's important to respect everyone regardless of their Soji.
Yeah, so I agree because if like they can really make the SOGI better by looking at how these ordinances did good or did bad. And as said kanina by Aito, it has publicity. The SOGI bill has publicity. So I think that when it's approved and implemented, people will know about it. And so I think this addresses the problem of people not knowing that discrimination is and can be punished by law. But I think the biggest problem will be how well talaga the law is enforced on the citizens. Because if it's just sitting there and nothing's happening, even with the SOGI bill, it will be useless, diba?
Yeah, I
what's-
agree.
I agree.
I agree. But like, kasi since SOGI bill can be a great factor then, since all members can be protected din, di ba? Compare naman sa ordinances lang. And it all boils down talaga to the implementation of it. Kasi since people can follow naman a law if alam talaga nila yung nangyayari. So this could be a start, a spark in combating this discrimination if and only if it will be widely and properly implemented talaga.
Yeah, I agree. You guys made pretty good points. For me, it really depends on how the authority plans on making people aware and knowledgeable about the SOGI bill and how they plan on making an effective response to those who are affected by discrimination and hate crimes against the community.
Yeah. Wow, guys, I really love our discussion. Very informative, and it's really nice to talk to you guys about these things. So, this is a very nice sneak peek for our next episode where we will be discussing the SOGI bill with our special guest. So, yeah, so follow us on Facebook to find out who our guest is and stay tuned for our last episode. So, yeah,
That's
last
good.
episode na.
Yeah.
This is all the time we have for today, and I thank you all for coming here and having this chat, and we'll see you next week. Bye.
Bye.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
We love you.
Bye.